So quick recap from the customer's standpoint. Customers typically use some software, and that is typically built on a platform as a service, which is built on infrastructure as a service. And you use this as an example, Heroku. Can you name some other things that are there in the industry that are platforms as a service available apart from this one? Facebook
apps or games.
Really?
Yeah, you can actually create apps on Facebook. That is true.
Cool.
Yes.
ServiceNow.
Yes, ServiceNow is one. So you've seen those, people farming in Facebook. Have you seen that?
Right.
Oh man, that thing is.
I have an account, but I'm never there. My wife uses it more than me. I didn't realize it was that big of an entity. It had a service behind it, the ability to develop.
Facebook
Yeah.
is huge. I mean, it is humongous. In fact, there is an application developer program that you can use Facebook
How
to.
about LinkedIn? Same
Yes,
thing?
you can call it a platform in vague terms, in very vague terms. In fact, platform to me is anything that you put something on top of.
Yeah.
That's a platform.
Yeah.
But in the context of application development, you typically have a language and some framework.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And if you look at this kind of a structure and to put this and make it available as a platform, then the definition kind of narrows down. And then that's what I am referring to as a platform in this context of, say, example of Heroku. So if you go visit that Heroku website, not Heroku, but Heroku. And so here, it very clearly calls out what languages, what platforms, what frameworks are available. So let me log out of here so I can pinpoint what I'm talking about. Log out. Where's the log out button?
Here.
How do I log out? There, log out. So on the front page, you will find some references to. Yeah, it is long time actually. So if you look at the feature set here, there typically cases where you get some dynos that run some language. And so let's see, the documentation will have languages called out. So it is strictly talking about these languages, very, very specific: Ruby, Java, JavaScript through Node.js, Python, PHP, Clojure, and Scala. And so each of these languages will have a corresponding framework that these guys provide inside a dyno. And so in our example that we saw in this case, where we are able to scale our dyno, like line number 26, did you remember to scale it back?
It would scale it back.
You never gave them a credit card, right? That's okay. But if you did, so I would like you to make sure that you are actually scaling it back to 1. Otherwise, you will be wasting money. So don't do that. And so having said, the idea is that on these dynos, they will provide some framework for each of these languages. So let's take a look at the Ruby example. And what do they do in Ruby is that they're giving you Rails as a platform, right? So very, very similar to the exercise that we did here. We were able to create a Rails application using Heroku platform as a service.
So I got a question real quick.
Yes.
On the gem file in this activity, most of when you add something to the gem file, you have single quotes around them, you have the gem command, and then down in step 34, you've got double quotes around format. Single quote, double quote, both work?
Both work. I should make it consistent. Though both they're functionally similar.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty.
Over the links you sent, none of them work.
Meaning the PDF file link?
Hold
Hold on, let me just send it. Hold on. So here, compose silver lining, link, and paste. This one should work. Send. Let's see if it works. Check, please. I think it should work. I'm going to use a different browser and paste that link. That link should open up. And it did. I mean, it is opening up. But yeah, it is doing it. It's a big file. It's a 13 megabyte download. That's why it may be taking time. It has lots of pictures. That makes it big. But yeah, the file is coming down. And so in here, just like we had the Rails as a platform using Ruby as a language, conceptually, we can take this exercise right here and use another language and another framework and deploy the same way with Heroku, very much the same way, right? So in principle, I would take a JavaScript-based application and use the Node.js framework and repeat the exercise, just like we did here, this one. And that will work just like that, because you see that here, it describes that Heroku makes it easy to deploy Node applications in the cloud. So you basically write a Node application, do the similar exercise like this one, but instead of Ruby and Rails, you use JavaScript and Node.js. Most of the things are very, very similar, except that you're using a different language and different framework, and you're able to deploy pretty much just like that with PostgreSQL database or Mongo database or whatever other database connectivity that you would like to have. And more examples, Python and Django. Django is the singer or musician Django, not the Unchained Django.
In a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Right.
There you go.
And there's another framework called Flask. So this Flask framework that you see here. And PHP and has the Symfony framework or Laravel framework. Clojure has some frameworks, and Scala has frameworks, and Java has the Spring framework or Tomcat or Jetty or Spring or Play framework. So bunch of frameworks for a bunch of different languages available on this particular platform. You can just deploy, and it takes very minimal effort to get the application up and running. Just like these guys, Heroku, I would like to point out there are other players that are very, very similar and probably more lucrative in terms of, like, they give you 3 dynos for free. And those are OpenShift from Red Hat. The OpenShift, again, very similar. This is a Red Hat company. It's a company is Red Hat. This is a product from Red Hat. And you can do a similar thing. Java, PHP, Ruby, Node.js, Python, Perl, same languages. Very, very similar structure, except in case of Git push Heroku master, it will be something like
Git push.
OpenShift.
Oh,
Yeah, conceptually similar. They have a different tool for that, but that's the idea, is you put your applications inside in a Git in a very systematic structure, and then you say, hey, take my app and run it, and they run it. And these guys give you, I think, 3 dynos. The pricing is, they call it gear as opposed to dyno, but whatever. So there are gears. So they give you 3 basic small gears to host up to 3 applications, or you pay more.
So why, I mean, I guess maybe because you don't really know what a gear is, but I mean, it's almost equivalent to a small VM, right?
Yes, pretty much. A
So you
VM,
can't guarantee it's really a whole VM, so it might be a partial.
I don't, it's probably, yeah. We don't exactly know how they construct it, but it is something that is disposable. It is something that will sleep if you don't use it. And if nobody visits your site at all and you're not paying them, then they will take it away. They'll say,
I like
you
Gizmo.
I don't know. You know, they
We should
got
have a new
people
startup.
about this stuff.
We should create a new startup and call it Gizmo.
I like it.
Well, we could have got a bronze for free.
Oh, wow.
I never said no.
Upgraded bronze,
And that is also free.
yeah.
Upgradable gears and all
With
that.
SSL.
Yeah, you can get SSL. That's a unique thing in here is that you can add SSL for free, which
Cool.
is cool. Indeed. Indeed. So that is maximum number of gears is 16. You cannot get more gears than that. And if you're, including more, adding more gears, then you pay 2 cents per hour for additional gears.
So when you add,
There's the deal. You sign up for bronze, you could actually get a bill.
yeah,
Right. So it is similar to this, right? You have the scale concept 26. You have Heroku scale to 2 dynos.
yeah,
The same concept here, where you can scale in bronze. Scaling is, not available. I think in this free tier, first tier not available. You can get the first tier without giving a credit card. In the second one, you can. More examples like this exist, but I would like to point out one example which is really, really important, and that is this. And this example is open source by EMC. I think it's EMC people that did that. VMware, I think. VMware is behind that. And Cloud Foundry is on GitHub. And this, think of it as open source Heroku. Meaning, you can take this Cloud Foundry and put it on top of infrastructure as a service to create your own Heroku, and then you can call it Gizmo.
Right.
Right? You can call your own Gizmo. And to deploy this, so when you're deploying Cloud Foundry, you're basically creating Heroku. You're not creating an app on top of Heroku, but you're creating Heroku itself.
Right.
So that is one example. Extremely popular, so much so that IBM platform as a service is an implementation of Cloud Foundry. Cisco, and let me give you names of people who use Cloud Foundry. So who uses Cloud Foundry? And you will find big names. So like IBM's new platform as a service known as Bluemix is using Cloud Foundry, and so is Cisco, and so is Oracle, I think. And so people who are using Cloud Foundry are
Oracle didn't believe the cloud existed.
Yeah, Oracle didn't believe, lots of things. They just, they're in fact,
So there's thing as a cloud.
right, they're thought of as the Microsoft of Silicon Valley. Like, yeah, if you're at Oracle for 10 years, then nobody would hire you. In the Valley, apparently, that's the story goes. I don't know, I have never been there. Actually, I used to work at Oracle. I used to work in a company called Siebel Systems that got acquired by Oracle. I used to work at Sun Microsystems that got acquired by Oracle. So I have, twice worked without actually working at Oracle. Yes, somehow. Then another company called AppFog. This company is also Cloud Foundry implementation.
Can we go back to IBM real quick?
Yes, please.
So, is this a recent thing that they've done? Because I thought I heard that IBM wasn't doing cloud during.
Yes, in fact, I have my opinions on what they're.
Oh, I don't want to, we're being recorded, so I don't want to say too much. May need it for a job someday.
So this is Bluemix, the cloud, the platform by IBM powered by Cloud Foundry here.
huh,
And you can sign up
Did
and
they screw it up, or did they actually just use it as is and it works?
let me
Well,
pause recording. How about I pause recording and make my comments?
Yes.
So